Hello everyone, welcome to today's lesson where I have one goal to improve your TOEIC score and improve your grammar knowledge. So what we're going to do is look at a very difficult question. About 80% of students get this wrong, and we're going to find out how to answer it. So let's get started. Here's the question. Now, of course, pause your screen if you need time. All right, now one key tip in TOEIC is please look at the whole sentence. Don't stop halfway through. Get the idea of the whole sentence and understand the idea. Let's go over some key vocabulary to get the idea. The first vocabulary is hazardous materials. Hazardous means dangerous, threatening, toxic. For example, bleach can be a hazardous material. Certain glues can be hazardous. So hazardous is dangerous. The next one is documentation. Documentation is just the non-countable version of documents. These are papers, files, or materials that show proof or evidence of something. An example could be certain countries ask for documentation before they give a visa. All right, so now we have a better idea. So now let's start eliminating answers. First, eliminate D. Well, honestly, this is just basic grammar. Subject verb cannot be a subject. For example, I came late caused a problem. This is wrong because caused is my main verb and I came late is subject verb. This cannot be your subject. So when it says company policy requires drivers, policy requires, you have subject verb, so you will not then have will transport. You cannot use subject verb as your subject. Okay, so now we have A, B, or C. Let's find out. How do we get this answer? Well, people often get this question wrong because they remember the form subject requires object to verb. For example, my employer required me to work overtime. Or the law requires foreign nationals to carry their passports at all times. Honestly, I hate when countries require that you carry your passport, but that's just me. Okay, so we see that form, subject requires object to verb. So many people just pick so many people just pick A. They think, well, it says requires drivers, so it must be to transport. This is not the answer. You need to look at the whole sentence. To simplify this sentence, think of it this way. Company policy requires drivers to have the proper documentation. These drivers transport hazardous materials across state lines. So, if we used an adjective clause, we could say, company policy requires drivers that transport hazardous materials across state lines to have the proper documentation. So that transport hazardous materials is an adjective clause. It is describing the drivers. An adjective clause, another example, could be, I asked my friend who was working at Starbucks for a free coffee. So, I asked my friend for a free coffee. She works at Starbucks. The law requires people who are visiting from different countries to carry their passport at all times. It's not the law requires people to be visiting from different countries to carry their passport at all times. Because here we can see the subject is the law requires people to carry, not to be visiting. So now we know we can eliminate A. Now we have to understand reduced adjective clauses to get the answer. For a detailed explanation of this, check out the lesson link here. Okay, but let's go to the shorter explanation. Company policy requires drivers that transport hazardous materials across straight lines to have the proper documentation. In a reduced adjective clause, the marker that, who, which can disappear and the verb can become ing or ed depending on the situation. For example, I asked my friend who was working at Starbucks for a free coffee. I asked my friend working at Starbucks for a free coffee. Both are correct. I removed who and the be verb in this situation. Notice who is gone. I also removed the be verb. So it just became working. Another example, I asked my friend who was fired from Starbucks if he had found a new job. So here I can reduce this and take out who and was. I asked my friend fired from Starbucks if he had found a new job. Or, to get the answer on this TOEIC question, company policy requires drivers that transport. Well, instead of that transport, I can take out the that and say transporting. This is the adjective clause, the reduced adjective clause. Company policy requires drivers who are transporting, so I take out who are and just turn it to transporting hazardous materials across straight lines to have the proper documentation. So as you can see, the answer is B. All right, everyone. I hope you learned something here. If you are having trouble with reduced adjective clauses, check out the link I put earlier. Please share, subscribe, like, and best of luck on your TOEIC and English journey. Have a great day.